We're seeing new video today of a deadly encounter between a Florida man and police. Authorities have just released this footage of what happened last Wednesday. It appears to show Jean Pedro Pierre attacking a Broward County Sheriff's deputy after calling 911 to ask a favor of police. In the video, you can see Pierre knocking Deputy Sean Youngward to the ground and holding him down by his legs. But then a second deputy arrives on scene. Stephen Briggs arrives and opens fire, killing Pierre. Pierre's family says he had mental health problems.
My dad, he had a mental health issue with him that nobody knew about, and I wish the police knew about that before killing him. I know he didn't mean to hurt nobody.
When the taser did not work, he used an expandable baton. He did everything he could.
The Florida Department of Law Enforcement is investigating the incident now. After the release of the video of the shooting, some are asking if deadly force was necessary in this case. Dimitri Roberts joins me now. He's a former Chicago police officer, and he is the president and founder of 7-Star Consulting. Thank you for joining me, Dimitri. I haven't seen you for some time. What was your reaction when you saw this video? Was the use of force appropriate here?
Well, I think if we were looking at this from the first officer's perspective that was in the struggle with the victim, then yes. But the second arriving officer obviously had a responsibility to de-escalate the situation, given that he had many opportunities to take other perspectives or other uses of force towards this individual, as we can see. And in the video, it even appears that he showed up with his taser out and he transitioned to his gun. So I think the Broward County Sheriff's Office is going to have a hard time justifying this use of force when obviously this gentleman was unarmed and having some sort of mental health breakdown. And I think that the use of force is going to be hard to justify in this case.
I mean, how would you have seen this play out in a better scenario? So he gets knocked to the ground. The officer gets knocked to the ground by Pierre, and that other officer arrives. You think that at that point, that officer maybe could have stayed further away. He could have used another type of weapon, maybe one, as you mentioned, a non-lethal weapon. Could he have physically tried to restrain him, tackle him, per se?
Well, I think any reasonable person looking at this, and most definitely any trained law enforcement officer, would say that if you have an opportunity to de-escalate a situation and go hands-on with somebody, you don't keep your weapon out and you definitely don't shoot them. As I've said on many occasions, I've had to arrest many assailants that wanted to fight or were in the process of being combative, and you get your uniform dirty a little bit and you take them down in the appropriate ways. You don't shoot them. It seems like in this case that this officer was more concerned with getting his uniform dirty than he was with preserving this young man's life, and that's why he ended up dead. But yes, he definitely could have tackled him or taking some different measures to de-escalate that situation.
You know, we've learned, the family says that this man struggled with mental health issues, and we know there are folks out on the street that are dealing with that, and police often have encounters, not always, but sometimes have encounters with people that have these kinds of issues. De-escalation is really important, and it also, it's up to an officer's discretion. That's where it can get tricky, right? How can you de-escalate a situation like that?
Well, you first have to understand what's going on. I mean, he wasn't on top of the officer beating him. He wasn't going for his weapon. And at the point the second officer showed up, he's holding his foot. So, you know, it's not like the officer's life is in grave danger. It'd be a different story if the gentleman had retrieved the officer's weapon or some other form of weaponry that he was attempting to hurt the officer. He wasn't doing that. So it's clear, as a well-trained officer would look at and say, this guy, there's obviously something wrong. He's not responding to his verbal commands. But at the point where the officer fell to the ground, he's not making any further aggressive actions that would put the officer's life in danger. That's my opinion, but I've been there, done that, and I can tell you the folks on the other side of that didn't end up dead. So again, they're going to have a hard time justifying this use of force.
Well, we'll see how things progress. Meanwhile, this family is having to bury one of their loved ones right before Christmas, and that gives you pause, to be sure.
And
Dimitri Roberts,
that's the most unfortunate thing.
It is, and it sounds to me that you're saying it could have been avoided.
It
Dimitri Roberts,
could have.
our best to you and your family over the holidays. Okay, thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Michaela.
So as you saw just there, an officer's body cam really played a key part in helping us understand what led up to that deadly police encounter in Chicago. Authorities say they're a whole year ahead of schedule in terms of equipping every officer, patrol officer in their city with a body camera. More than 7,000 Chicago officers now wear them. It's the largest deployment in the nation. According to police, if an officer fails to turn on their body camera, there will be consequences.